Have you ever had a long day after you had dropped off your child and you went probably to work with anxiety when maybe your child did not have an easier drop off, and you were expecting at least that the child had a good day, and what the teacher does tell you, oh, your child hit and your child bit, or your child was pushing, or your child was screaming. It's like, Lily is like, oh no. Hi and Jumbo. Welcome to another video about how we can make the life of our children a little easier by giving them the tools that they need to build self-confidence to face life, while we support them emotionally so that they can be able to flourish in life. Today, I want us to continue about with this topic, which is of interest to me because I have been an early childhood teacher for a long time, and it is things that I have seen, things which I wish personally as a mom, I wish I had these tools when my kids were young. And today I want us to continue with the transition, but this time it is transition to home. So you as the parent, when you go to pick up, what do? I will give you some 4 or 5 of the things that you can do to make a little transition easier from home when you're picking up from school when you're picking up to home. Many times we know that it is very difficult when you drop off your child and when you're picking them up. Those are two major transitions because most of the children are so excited to be picked up by their mom, by their dad. In fact, they wait. They are so excited to see. But then if you, the parent, come in and you ask, how was so and so's day? You know, oh, they did not listen today. Today they were not following directions. What do you do? You, the parent, what do you do? The first thing to know is at the back of your mind, if I could have this being registered by every parent, at the back of your mind, what you need to know is that your child was not doing that maliciously if they did. They were trying to express themselves and they did not know how, and they did what gave them immediate solution. So of course, then our the adults in the life of the child are supposed to really figuring out how can we help this child express themselves differently when we are staying safe and we are keeping every other child safe, because you don't want to ignore, neither do you want to blame the teacher, because I usually tell the parents, what if it is your child who was bit? What if it is your child who was pushed? What if it is your child who was screamed at? Would you like a proactive plan to help that other child to be able to cope so that your child can be safe in that classroom? So when it is your child, then it becomes your obligation to figure out on how to help your child cope. So the first question, if, for example, the teacher come and tells you, oh, your child did not listen today, they were not following directions, it's like, what? What does that mean? As a parent, the first thing you need to know is that every child learns differently. There are some children who cannot just sit. So if following direction was to sit during circle time to listen to a story, children cannot do that. Consider the 2-year-olds. Oh, I have had them. The 2-year-olds, the maximum they can sit probably is 2 minutes listening to your story, unless you make things so entertaining for them to stay and to ask for more, which I have the experience of doing that. They will ask for more. I maybe spent so long, but it has to be engaging, that which looks for their interest. So when the teacher tells you that the child did not listen, what are they saying? Maybe they are saying what they were selling the child they was not buying. And so maybe it's the time for the teacher to change. Secondly, children learn differently. There are those children who cannot sit to listen because they have to understand things by doing. So they have to be walking around, they have to be doing something as they listen. I have done that experiment and I've seen those children actually, when you ask them, for example, during the circle time, and the teacher includes them during the circle time, they will respond, in fact, probably better than those who are there, because they learn differently. They have to be doing something. And so the job you as a parent is to ask the teacher, what does that mean? Or you can tell the teacher, my child cannot sit. Just don't force them. They cannot sit to listen to a story. So as far as listening, following direction, it's not that they didn't want that. It is because they cannot learn how to do that. And again, Maybe you have listened to my videos and I care deeply about the children. I think we have to meet the children where they are, and it is your job, you as the parent, to advocate for your child, to tell the teacher, my child 1 2 3 is what works for him. I know many times, in the new age, we talk about the circle time, we talk about the story time, the child did, the child sit. They don't have to, in my own opinion, because they learn differently. Some of us are visual, some of us are listeners, some of us are just, learn best by doing it ourselves. Some of us just want to be doing something else. Some of us, we need space. And that is the case with the children. So asking the teacher what that means so that you can help them understand better your child is key. So that, that word is not coming so heavily on you and also on your child. It is also important to ask if, for example, you received not so nice news, for example, that your child did, kind of bite or push. That is a distraught. It's very hard. I want you to know that, if a teacher happens to report that to you, definitely the teacher knows at the back of their mind that it nullifies the whole of the work that they have done with the child the whole day. And it is honestly so frustrating. So, as far as that is concerned, the teacher is at the same page with you of being disappointed. But sometimes we make mistake of being disappointed with the child instead of the act. The child was trying to express themselves with where they were. Maybe they were overwhelmed by the noise. Maybe they were overwhelmed by the light. Maybe they were overwhelmed by the chaos which was there. Maybe they were overwhelmed by whatever was overwhelmed them that made them react the way they did, because it was a reaction. So the first thing to know is that the child does not do those things maliciously. I have been in the early childhood for a very, very long time. And in my own opinion, I don't think they do that maliciously. They don't do that to hurt. They do that to express themselves. Whether it's a repeated act, it is what has given them the results. I love my toddlers. I love the twos because they will throw you a beautiful tantrum. They throw stuff because they want a particular thing, and they are committed. They are so committed to that, and they will throw a fit and they will repeat whatever it is that they're saying until they get it. And if that is what is called not listening, or they were not following directions, or they were throwing tantrums, they were expressing themselves. They are committed. You give them whatever they were asking, and the deal is done. You kind of wonder, oh my goodness, where did the tears go? Where did the tears go? And they were throwing a big, beautiful tantrum. So to ask and to let the teacher know how to deal with that is important. To ask the circumstances, that is number two, to ask the circumstances which were surrounding the act is also the most important thing, so that we can try to avoid that. The teacher can be able to avoid that. Do not just take it and you start talking to your child, stop biting, stop this, because you don't know what the circumstances, another circumstance will come which will prompt your child to do the same thing with that which gives the same results. Let's face it, like the 2 year olds or the 3 year olds, they don't have full expression of what it is that they're feeling. If it is another child who is aggressing them, they just go to the immediate thing that gives them immediate results. What works? What do you mean biting does not work? I want that book. I go bite my friend, and then when I bite my friend, they drop the book. I get the book. Yay! What do you mean biting does not work? What do you mean, hitting does not work? I wanted that book. I wanted that toy. And when I hit them, they dropped the toy. They were crying. And then I got the book. And I received what I wanted. It works all the time for them. Our job is to give those children the tools to be able to get the same results without hurting their friends or staying safe with their friends. So they don't know. They just go to the immediate thing that gives them immediate results. So knowing that at the back of our mind when we are conversing with a teacher, it is important so that we can give children an alternative to dealing with a certain behavior. The other thing to ask, if a teacher came to tell you about how difficult the day was, or your child bit or had 1 2 3 did not listen, ask the teacher, what else did my child do the whole day? Because let's face it, biting happens 3 seconds, 5, maybe at most. It just happened within a split second. It happens so fast. Sometimes you're just watching the child and it just happens. And it's like, oh God, I did not see that coming. So what did the child do the rest of the day? Some children are in the program for a very long time, maybe, some 8 hours, some 10 hours, whatever the hours that the child is in the program, away from the parent. So it is important to ask what else happened, anything, were they learning, what did they do? Beside asking the circumstances, ask what else they did otherwise beside the biting. It is very, very important so that you can be able to separate the child from the act and you can help the teacher. I always say this: you know your child than anybody else. You are the child first teacher, not by default, it is by design. You are the one to explain to anybody who sees, because you're playing advocate here. You're teaching and you're advocate for your own child. I always tell the parent it's very important that you advocate for your child so that you, whatever the attitude you have, and that is why I always ask the parents, when you're dropping off in the morning, tell something successful the child did at home, not something bad. And if it is something bad, just show how the child is maybe strong-willed, that they needed this 1, 2, 3. So when even when you receive those not nice news, the fourth thing you can do is to ask, after you ask what the child did during the day, now you have something to talk about to the child when you're going home, outside of the act which was not so present, so that at least the child can ease, and they will tell you, actually, I did not have a good day, 1, 2, 3 happened. You give them that freedom without judgment to express exactly what was, and therefore you can be able to suggest some solutions, or you can even be able to ask the child how they would have solved. What is it you wanted to say to your friend that you decided to use your teeth to talk? Because they were talking. And so asking them to give the solution, especially at least from 2-year-olds, they can be able to tell you exactly how they would have loved things to be, or what they would have done otherwise. And they were overcome by the speed at which they were reacting. So you have now something to go home with your child, to prompt on how the day was and how it was, and asking the child what happened, as opposed to telling the child what the teacher said. So tell me about the day. Was there a time, was this? Tell me more. They'll be able to express themselves on how things were at school. The other thing you can do, you as a parent, is to make sure that at least you're checking in during the day. I have said it and I will say again. I just wish during my time when I was raising my children that there was, tools like the cameras and the apps where you can log in and kind of check in with the teacher how the child is doing, because most of the time they will be able to tell you how the child is doing. If there is such an act that happened, you'll be able to solve it there and then, or you'll be able even to know that something happened, so that at least when you go to pick up in the evening, you will not be bombarded by all those things. You'll have been able to cope with it, or you'll even be able to come and probe the teacher. How was the day? I saw he did 1, 2, 3. So how did that happen? You are able to at least kind of calm down, and you don't feel bombarded by whatever the negative things that happened to the child, and you're able to focus more on the positive things that happened. Asking the teacher is key during the day. Connect, corroborate. Remember to ask again the teacher how they deal with those things in the classroom. In fact, I always, personally as a teacher, I always tell the parents how we deal with that before it happens, as part of maybe helping to train the children on how to express themselves. And you give them the words, you rehearse, you do all those things. But when it is you, the parent, it is usually hard. So you are the one at least to tell the parent, to collaborate with the teacher on how to help that child proactively without waiting for some of the issues to happen. It is a very difficult age because they are faced by big emotions and they do not know how to inhibit. They cannot be able to inhibit how they feel. I love that idea about children because they do not walk away from themselves. That is what they're feeling. They are so authentic, they are so honest. And in whatever it is, even when they give those funny lies, they are doing that because of a goal. They are committed. Again, you have a toddler who will just throw a beautiful tantrum and they'll kind of kick. And as soon as you give them whatever is that they needed. So regulating the space in which you can give that item that the child needed. We will do this when you are done doing this. It is much easier to help that child at tomorrow, to have a better tomorrow, to be able to cope with those issues that easily kind of flips them over to become something that they were not during the day. So it is very, very important that the way you drop off your child with that attitude is the way you pick up that child in the evening. It is good to know each one of us we learn differently, and it is good to give the children a leeway to be able to express themselves. Many times I ask children, I do, how can I help to help you to stay safe? And most of the time they will tell me. In fact, even the drop off, I ask them, how can it be easier? How can we make it easier for you for during the drop off for that child who cries? And they will tell me, I just need this. And honestly, because it is them, it works. At least it has worked for me. So you, the parent and the teacher, it is important that we include the children in everything that we do. In fact, asking the child, tell us what happened, that you decided to talk with your teeth, or you decided to talk with your hands, or you decided to throw your friend's stuff instead of talking to them. So that they will tell you, and then they say, oh, you wanted this, 1, 2, 3, and then you can give them the vocabulary, you can rehearse, you have something to talk about. But at least at the back of your mind, knowing that that child was not malicious, they were just expressing themselves, it gives them a leeway to be able to open up to you so that you can give them and suggest to them many of the things that they can do alternatively. And I tell them it works. Of course, I'm announcing to, when the other children are healing, and it works. But we have to practice that. It is something we have to practice with the children to become them so that we can be able to easily help them. Thank you so much again for listening. I hope that helps with how you can pick up with when you receive not so good news about your child, and you can go home at least feeling a little better and not kind of carrying that heavy weight of, I cannot believe now today is the day they're gonna go tell me about something that happened to this child. This way, we can be able to give our children, we can make it a little easier for them as they cope with life, and as we help them to nurture their social-emotional faculties so that they can be able to flourish in life. Thank you so much again for watching. May you subscribe, like, let me know what you think, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to hear about our children and about life, about how we cope and how we help nurture them in this life. Thank you again.